Hello AP students, and we are on our packet for 4.2. Moving pretty fast here, and our first packet after Christmas, after Mr. Wood returned from my trip from Peru. So let's start off with our first word, which is the Little Ice Age. This word we have seen before, but let's go over it again. So our Little Ice Age was a period of cooling that existed during the early modern era, kind of got its beginning actually in the post-classical era, then extended into the early modern era where temperatures went down. It affected Europe greatly. It also affected China and Asia. So the Little Ice Age was a period of cooling, affected Europe, affected Asia, where there were less crops, there were less food, there were very long winters, and it was a period where there was a lot of starving in places like Europe as well. If we're looking at years, as you can look right over there, we can see kind of a definition right there. We got Little Ice Age, the period between about 1300 and 1870. During Europe and North America were suggested much colder winters. I would also add Asia to that as well. Again, this affected food. This affected people who didn't have as much to eat. And during this time, it made people a little more likely to leave Europe to go to places like North America. So more emigration, which is people leaving Europe in particular to go to other places in the world. And that is our Little Ice Age. Our next word on your packet is Encomienda System. As you can see there from our definition, the Encomienda System, established in 1512. It was established by the Spanish in the Americas for them to regulate American Indian labor and behavior during the colonization of the Americas. So the Encomienda System was established, and what basically happened was the Spanish at first were enslaving the American Indians. In the Encomienda System, basically the church got involved and said, well, you can't enslave them, but what you can do is you can regulate their labor and their behavior, and we're going to turn them into Christians, basically, by living with the Spanish on their lands, and they're going to learn to become Christians. The reality and the significance of this, what really happened, though, was this is a way for the Spanish to exploit and use American Indian labor to build their farms, to build many of their things like the haciendas, which will be established in the New World. So the Encomienda System was really a form of Spanish taking over and the American Indians. Here's a pretty good picture which shows the plan and the reality. Again, Christianized the Indians was part of it, but it basically was they were working for their time for the settlers, and many of them died from diseases and also absolutely horrible working condition. Eventually there was rebellion and revolt in the Encomienda System, but this allowed the Spanish to take over a lot of the land away from the Indians in the Americas. Now I said Indians, you can use that term to refer to Native Americans or people native from the Americas. Obviously I don't mean people from India when I say Indians. This is the Encomienda System. The significance was that it helped allow the Spanish to take over land in the Americas away from the natives or the Indians. Our next word is the Mita System. The Mita System was a system of labor that was started by the Incas in South America, and it originated as a way for everyone to have jobs to do, as a way basically to use their labor as a way to pay their taxes to the Inca Empire. The Inca system was very advanced. It was a way to tax the people. It was a way that projects like the terraces and storehouses got done so people could have enough food to eat. In the early modern period, we would see a huge change in the Mita system. What we will see when the Spanish come in is the Spanish transform the Mita system to labor obligation, where, as we see here, the villagers are forced to send their male populations to the mines, to places like Potosi, to do mining work for the Spanish, to work on their forced labor on their haciendas, to make the Spanish rich. So basically the Spanish, there's a system of Mita, which is labor, and they use that basically to put the native peoples into slavery, into their mines, and in other areas. Significant as it leads the Spanish to becoming richer, and basically very significant, leads to the death of a lot of the native population in the Americas. The haciendas are these big, large farm estates that were owned by the wealthy Spanish, those who were up on top of the system. They were owned by the Spanish, and they were basically, the native people were put into slavery to work on these farms, the haciendas, in both Encomienda and in the Mita system. And these were basically these big, huge, large farms where people who were from Spain were able to get lots of land, lots of power, and had native labor as their workforce for farming, which made them very rich. Significant because it also shows a change in the Americas as the Spanish come in and are able to take control of the farming and also of the land. Chattel slavery, as we see here, it's the slavery that we think of when we think of slavery in the United States, also existed in the Americas. Again, it's basically slavery where slaves are actual property who could be bought, sold, traded, or inherited. And chattel slavery that exists in the Americas was also a little different because this was also racially based. We see racially based slavery, which is first with the Indians in the Americas, and then also slavery which is for Africans who are brought to the Americas. So in this chapter, we are definitely looking at the significance of slaves who are brought from the Americas, from Africa, from Africa into the Americas to do labor on the hacienda and other systems. It's the outright owning of a human being, and it's generational. And what we see here is that they're personal property, and they are basically without rights. And this is what we call chattel slavery. Very significant as it Africans are taken away from their homeland. They are sold to the Americas.